Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is a masculine card with a vintage feel. I've used the Soar Confidently stamp set together with a couple of images from the Sailing Home stamp set. And the background is actually paper from the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper pack. This card is a case, so it's a copy of one in the current January to June mini catalogue, and you can see the card on page 70. I haven't copied it exactly, but it's very close. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, take a screenshot so you can refer to it later. Here is the Soar Confidently stamp set, and today I'm just using the balloon and this sentiment. I'll be stamping the balloon on crumb cake cardstock, and I'm using soft suede ink for this. The sentiment will be stamped onto some very vanilla cardstock, and I'm using Misty Moonlight ink. Here is the Sailing Home stamp set, and I'm using the compass image and the birds today. The paper I'm using for the front panel comes from the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper pack, and it's this one that actually looks like sand. Now I'm going to use some Misty Moonlight ink and apply it with my sponge dauber just to add a little blue to the sky. I don't want this too dark, so I'm taking off some excess on my scrap paper, and then I'm just going to apply it towards the top of the piece. I'm now going to stamp all over this panel randomly using soft suede ink and the two images from the Sailing Home stamp set. And I'm using first generation and second generation stamping, so I get a variety of tones. I'm now going to go around all the edges of this panel using soft suede ink and a sponge dauber, and this adds to the vintagey feel. Now you could leave this process and do it after you've cut the panel into pieces, but it's much easier to get the outside edges when the piece is in one piece. On the original card, the clouds were created using the Majestic Mountain dies. Now I don't own these, so I'm going to hand draw some clouds and cut them out for my card. Now it doesn't matter what pen you use, I'm using my soft suede marker because I'm actually going to cut off the drawn edges. Now, as you can see, I'm no artist, and it takes me a little while to get into something like this. Actually, the first cloud I did was okay. The second one not so much. But if you keep trying, you will soon get the hang of what you want to do, and you'll get the shape that you want. You see, the second one not so good. So I just drew several and then picked the best ones to cut out. You need 3 clouds altogether, and I've already drawn mine and cut them out. Now I'm just going to go around the edges with my soft suede dauber again. I don't need to add any more ink to the dauber, there's plenty already on it. And this again will add to that vintage feel. The cut panels in the original card in the catalogue look like they've been raised up on dimensionals. So because I'm using paper, I'm going to reinforce this with some soft suede cardstock. But this is completely optional, and of course you don't even have to raise up this panel if you don't want to. You could glue the individual strips flat to the card. But I'm going to go ahead and glue this now to the soft suede mat. I'm going to do some very simple colouring on the balloon, and I'm going to use one of our blender pens to do this. Now these come in a pack of 3, they're dual ended but the nibs are identical and they share a barrel. There's a clear fluid inside and I think it might be a glycerine solution, but I'm not sure. Now I'm going to use the lids of my ink pads as palettes, so to transfer some ink to the lid I'm just giving the pads a squeeze, and I'm using Misty Moonlight and Bumblebee ink. I'll pick up just a little colour from the top of my ink pad and then apply it to my image, and I'm just colouring the little stars across the middle of the balloon with the bumblebee. And then once you've finished with one colour, you want to gently clean the nib just by rubbing it on its side until it runs clear again. The vertical stripes on the balloon will be coloured using the Misty Moonlight. Now as you colour, you will notice that the blender pen will pick up some of the soft suede ink and it will mix it in with the Misty Moonlight, as it did with the bumblebee as well. Now this is fine because I'm going for a vintage look, so it will just add to that feel for the card. If you don't want the underlying ink to be picked up, then you must stamp your image with a waterproof ink. Our old basic black ink was very good for this, so if you ever purchase that you could use that, or Stays On ink, but anything that is waterproof. Alternatively, you could just leave the soft suede ink to dry thoroughly or blast it with a heat tool, and you'll find that it won't pick up so much when you colour it. I'll just clean off the blender pen now, and I want to colour the basket. I'm not adding any colour, I'm just picking up the soft suede ink that's already there and moving it around to colour the basket. There aren't any coordinating dies to go with the Soar Confidently stamp set, so the balloon has to be cut out by hand. The shape of it is so simple though, it only took a minute or 2 to cut around. I'm now going to cut down my front panel into the strips I need for my card. Now I made a mistake here and I made my panel too big. I allowed for 5 panels because I forgot that the sentiment strip would replace one of them. But you will see by the measurement screen at the start of this video the correct measurement you need to make this front panel and the individual measurements for the 4 strips that you need. You'll see me create 5 strips here. So the next 2 strips are the same size, and I should have only done 1 strip and then the sentiment strip would replace the second one. If you use 8.5 inch by 11 inch card as your standard card, your strips will not be quite as deep as mine. I use A4 as my base card. I now need to daub all the remaining edges that I didn't do earlier with my soft suede ink. And this is where I realised I had too many panels. So this one will be replaced with the sentiment strip. So again, I've changed all the measurements that you saw at the start of the video to reflect this. Although the original card in the catalogue didn't have the sentiment edges daubed, I think it needs it, so that's what I'm doing. My card base is in Misty Moonlight, and this is half a standard sheet of card, scored in the middle and folded to create a portrait card. Then for the inside of the card, I have a very vanilla mat, and I've stamped it and coloured it as I did for the balloon for the front of the card. Then I have all my strips for the front, and I've added dimensionals onto the back of all the paper, but not the sentiment strip. So I'm going to have two different levels. Then I've got my clouds, one of which has dimensionals on the back and another one which has a dimensional on the right hand side. And my balloon also has dimensionals. And that's it. That's my card complete. And I think it's a pretty good match for the one in the catalogue. What do you think? Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.